We have seen Chapter 21. Miracle at Tel Aviv Airport. For a number of years, Winona and I served as tour hosts for pilgrims wishing to visit, study, and worship in the Holy Land. This was a wonderful and inspirational assignment. Although we made many of these pilgrimages, we never tired of those journeys. Each time we learned so many new things about the Bible, as well as the people of Israel. On one of those journeys, I met with an emergency. I had to depart Israel early and leave our tour group behind. I had never faced that situation before. It was much more difficult than I ever imagined. In fact, on that specific occasion, to return to America from Israel in the middle of the night was virtually impossible. Nevertheless, I had to make the attempt. I took a bus from Jerusalem to Tel Aviv in the late evening. This was a journey of about an hour. Upon arriving at the Ben Gurion International Airport around 9 p.m., I began the process of clearing the security checks, the most difficult, in my opinion, in the world. The procedures on that evening were very slow. I kept checking the time since my plane would depart around 11:30 for Chicago. Since I was departing Israel earlier than planned, I did not have a confirmation. I felt somewhat secure in that the plane was a 747 and this was a midnight flight. I knew that I might have to fly standby. The inspections and lines were lengthy and time-consuming. The questions and security checks seemed to last forever. As soon as I finished with the red tape, I raced to my terminal and gate. What I discovered completely overwhelmed me. It was now after 11 p.m. The departure line held more than 50 people. I asked the question to the person in front of me, "Are all these people going on the Chicago flight?" The man turned to me and said, "The plane is already loaded. These are all standbys." I felt a sudden rush of frustration. Fear gripped my heart. What could I do? I had to get to America the next day. I had no idea how to get back to Jerusalem at night and find the small hotel located on the outskirts of the city. It was not a familiar hotel. I had only touched base there for an hour or so. What on earth could I do? The next flight on this particular airline was 3 days away. I felt panic gripping my heart. Then I paused for a moment and reflected on the many times I had faced emergencies like this in the past. What did I do in those instances? Then a spirit of calmness washed over me. I bowed my head while waiting in the long line of standby passengers and began to pray. I prayed a prayer of faith and desperation. Perhaps I was somewhat like Peter, sinking on the water and crying, "Help, Lord!" Almost immediately I was compelled to look over the railing at a set of stairways leading to the floor below. I had no idea where those stairs led. This was the most secure airport in the world. Armed guards stood in every door. Then, as I stood there looking down the stairs, I saw a man walking rapidly across the floor below me. I was the only person in line that had the advantage of seeing that particular scenario. Why was I so transfixed by that particular patch of dirt? Where was he going? Did it matter? Tel Aviv is a large airport and there are many such exits. At any rate, I could see the man stopped momentarily, show some credentials, and walked out of the terminal. Then I heard an unmistakable voice in my spirit that said quickly, "Follow that man." I had no idea where the man was going or who he might be. To go outside a heavily guarded airport into the night seemed to make no sense, yet I recognized the voice of my shepherd, and I knew that I must go. I grabbed my carry-on luggage, raced down the mysterious stairway. I ran to the exit where the man had departed. I showed my ticket and passport to the armed lady security officer. She seemed not to notice me at all. No questions, no scanning of my credentials. Incredible. I walked outside Ben Gurion International Airport and into the night. Where was I to go? I had no idea. A bus was waiting outside the door. It was about to leave. The driver saw me and opened the door. I quickly scrambled ahead. At Tel Aviv, due to the imminent danger from terrorists, all airplanes must park a considerable distance from the terminal. I sat down in the bus as it wheeled away from the airport. But where was the bus going? I did not have the slightest idea. I continued to pray as the bus moved across the tarmac in the direction of several planes parked beneath the powerful spotlights. The bus moved toward the looming figure of a parked 747 airliner. The passengers departed the bus and began climbing the ramp to enter that mysterious airplane. My heart was racing with appreciation. I had heard the voice. I had obeyed. I had never felt so helpless and vulnerable. I had no recourse but to simply trust the voice. Would I be arrested, sent back to the terminal? All kinds of questions flooded my mind. Then it was my turn to show the waiting stewardess my ticket and credentials. She merely nodded and pointed me in the direction of a seat, the only available seat left on that flight. The aircraft doors closed. I sat down. My heart was pounding with joy unspeakable. The intercom instructed the passengers about flight procedure, what to do in case of an emergency, how to inflate the life jackets, etc. I didn't care about that. I just sat there weeping, praising, and rejoicing. I felt that I could fly without a plane. In a few minutes I went to sleep. I believe that I slept like a baby, knowing that if God be for us, who can be against us? Romans 8:31. Why did the Lord perform that miracle for me? I have pondered that many times. I am nobody. I feel that I am the most unworthy person to be recipient of the many miracles that God has performed in our lives. Maybe that is one of the keys. He many times chooses the weak things of this world to confound the mighty. The Bible is full of such accounts of how he blessed the least significant of people, such as Zacchaeus, the little boy with the loaves and fishes, and so on. If that is true, then perhaps you too may be in line for a miracle. Remember, all things are possible for him that believeth. Mark 9:23. Expect a miracle.